Okay, I think we're ready to start. Finally. Took me a while to get ready, but I think I'm ready to go. Okay, you guys can see that I just got a little bit of paint and some medium here, and not very much at all because I'll be wasting some of this, so I don't want to get much. And then remember, when I mix it up, that I don't want to mix up all of my paint. Don't do that. If you need more white to make it more opaque, you could just add a little bit more paint. And if you need to make it thinner, you can add a little bit more medium. So I just mix up about, I don't know, a third of my paint. Not even all, not even half of it. And I mix up about a third of it. And then if I need a little bit more medium, I pull some in. If I need a little bit more white, I pull that in. So just mix up a little bit of it and leave plenty of medium and plenty of white left so that you can add it as needed. Okay, so I'm looking at my picture here, and what I want to do is I want to go over all the white areas first. So everything that is really white, and I want to go another coat on those. So I'm going to start there by putting another coat on those areas. And I've got mine a little bit white, so I'm going to add a little bit more medium to it. And so I'm just kind of building up the areas that I already have with another coat of white. And so I'm kind of putting it on there. I don't know, it's a little heavier than I usually would go, but I'm going to be thinning this out some. So I'm going to go a little bit white, but I'll thin it out a little bit as I go. So I'm putting just another coat of it on there. Remember, keep it super light. You should see a little bit of change, but not much. And like I said, unless the area is really, really light, then just keep it thin. Should see a change though. I mean, you should see some difference when you're adding this paint. You just shouldn't see a big difference. Okay, so I'm adding some paint here, looking for the areas that I went over before, focusing on those shapes. And then getting a little bit of paint down, and I'm going to come back and work on it a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to kind of expand where I'm putting paint. I'm putting paint over what I've done before, but then I'm going to expand those areas. I'm going to start looking for areas that are not quite as white or bright and see if I can start putting paint in those areas. Okay, so I put down quite a bit of paint there. Now I'm going to go back in and start cleaning it up some, and I'm going to expand a little bit more. So mine was a little bit thick with paint. I'm going to pull a little bit more medium in. So what I'm doing is I'm making some of my paint a little thinner right here because I thought it was a little bit thicker than I wanted to go. So I'm going to thin it up just right over here. So I got it thin here and a little bit thicker right there. So if I need a little bit more paint to be more opaque, I could pull some out of this. If I need it a little thinner, I could pull it out of here. And if I really need to thin it down, I could just grab some medium and paint that on there. So again, I'm going to start expanding the areas that I've got white. I'm going to start looking for more areas that need to be lightened up. And remember, really look at your picture, your original picture. Spend more time looking at your picture than you do your painting. Well, that might be like an exaggeration, but kind of you want to do that. But I find a lot of times the students don't look enough at the original picture. And they paint what they think and not what they see. And that happens all the time. And, you know, that's why they're maybe not as successful as they could be. So you want to try to paint what you see and not what you're thinking. That's what like a lot of really young artists, kids, do. You know, when they make pictures and they make the little figure of their mom or dad, and they might not have like a body. You know, they might have arms and legs and then a head, you know, and they're just painting kind of what they think or drawing what they think and not really what they see. But as they develop, obviously they realize, hey, something else there. So I know you guys, this is your third day painting the white. And so when I'm asked, how long am I going to paint the white? And I always say, a long time. I would say probably 6 or 7 days, maybe. It just depends when we're done. But usually, that's what I'm painting in about 6 or 7 days. So really look at the shapes of the white areas that you have. Don't just paint white on here to paint white on here and know that your face has to be somewhat white. You really have to look at the different shapes and start thinking about what is the shape of that little white area. Okay, and does it extend down to here? Does it go up here? And you kind of have to think of it in that way, as little different shapes. Sometimes people will paint their paintings upside down. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. I'm not sure if you know why they're doing that, but sometimes when they have um, something that they recognize, they start painting what they think. And by putting it upside down, it kind of changes your perspective, and it doesn't look like something, and you're just looking for shapes. And that's why they're doing that, because it helps them look at the artwork as just shapes and colors and textures instead of an actual, object, an actual thing. And it's pretty successful doing that, that you can see that that it works for them. The good thing about my face when I paint it is I have like some wrinkles. It gives a lot of character. You guys don't have that luxury, I guess, or maybe it's not a luxury, but it does add something to your painting, for sure. When we get it all done, there'll be, on mine, I don't have white paint on everything, but you'll have at least a little white paint on everything as you get further along. Even if it's super thin, you'll have white paint on there. And it will be super thin, in some areas. So when I want something a little bit more opaque, I'll pull it from my more opaque paint. And um, if I just see something that needs to be a lot more white that maybe I've missed, I'll just go to that side of my paint and get a little paint from that. And then if I see something that is really faint, I will go to the other side of my paint and pull the paint from that. So that um, if I need to grab a little bit of different kind of, opaque paint or non-opaque paint, I can get it. You can look at the white shapes, but you can also look at like the darker shapes, and that will help you to find, your white spots there, the light where the light is. Sometimes I feel like I need to correct some things. I see some things, I'm like, oh, that's not quite right. And sometimes I can get the white and I can fix it with the white. Sometimes I actually have to wait until I start adding my color, and I'll fix some things that maybe I went over with white, but they're not quite, it's not quite right. Don't be afraid to use your finger to smooth it if you need to. It's perfectly okay to do that. Looking like me. Also, don't be afraid to get a paper towel or Kleenex. Really works well to wipe it off. Sometimes I just have to wipe it off because I'm like, nope, that's not right. Okay, so for me today, I'm noticing that I'm starting to get some areas. I'm starting to wipe off too much paint as I paint. So that is the sure sign that today I'm done. I'm going to use a little bit of this white on the really, really light areas real quick and throw some color down. Because I know these are super white areas. And I know I'm going to have to get some of that in there. So I'm going to put a little bit of this down right now so I'm not wasting it. And you know, not super worried about like words on shirts or anything. Those are not my focus. But I'll throw some of this color down. Really worry about these later. I'll try to make them look decent later, but for now, it's not my priority. Okay, so I think I'm gonna call this a day, which means I'm gonna clean up my brushes. Remember that when you're wiping off oil, that you wipe off your brush the best you possibly can before you put it in the cleaning jar, and your your baby oil in your cleaning jar will last a lot longer if you wipe a lot of this off, as much as you can off your brush. And then as far as your palette, just wipe it right off. And then in a couple days time, when we come back to it, you'll just be able to pick this up and go. I just wipe it off pretty easy there.